Have you ever stood in front of your closet, holding a pair of white pants and thought, how do I style these? You're not alone. Many women over 60 feel the same way when it comes to finding the perfect look with white pants. This video will show you how to style white pants in a way that boosts your confidence, all without needing to buy anything new. Embrace the elegance and confidence that come with wearing simple staples like white pants. If you've ever felt unsure about wearing white pants or thought they are only for younger women, this video is for you. We'll show you easy, stylish ways to mix and match with pieces you already have in your closet. Chapter 1: The Allure of White Pants. White pants are a staple in every woman's wardrobe, yet they hold incredible potential for creating various stylish looks. Not only do they elevate your silhouette, but they also add an effortlessly chic touch, making you look taller and more streamlined. Especially for mature women, white pants can give a youthful and fresh vibe, helping you feel confident and stylish. When it comes to styling white pants, the simplest and most effective option is pairing them with a white blouse or tunic. This creates a sleek, modern look that is always in style. The beauty of this combination lies in its simplicity. Whether you're dressing for work or a casual outing, it works perfectly for any occasion. Choosing fabrics like cotton or linen enhances comfort and breathability, keeping you cool and at ease throughout the day. An all-white ensemble never goes out of fashion, offering a clean and elegant appearance that speaks volumes without needing to shout. It's a look that stands out with quiet confidence, making a strong statement without any effort. You don't need to say a word for people to notice the polished and sophisticated aura you exude when wearing white on white. Pairing white pants with a matching white shirt is a foolproof way to create a refined, chic look. The simplicity of this combination enhances your elegance and makes it easy to put together an outfit that's both flattering and timeless. Chapter 2: Color and Fabric Pairing. When it comes to styling white pants, choosing the right colors can make all the difference in your overall look. Earthy tones like beige, olive green, and terracotta are perfect matches for white pants. These colors not only complement your skin tone but also add warmth and balance to your outfit. They create a natural, harmonious look without being too bold, which is especially great for mature women looking to keep things fresh and vibrant without being overly flashy. The fabric you choose is equally important in creating the right style with white pants. A cotton top paired with white pants can create a light, airy look that's both comfortable and flattering for all-day wear. On the other hand, lighter fabrics like thin wool or a cardigan can add an element of sophistication and elegance, perfect for a more polished appearance. These materials elevate your outfit, adding refinement without being too fussy. For instance, pairing olive green with white pants brings a refreshing and youthful vibe. The combination of the right colors and fabrics makes a significant difference in how confident you feel wearing your clothes. When you find the perfect balance, you not only look great but feel great too. This combination helps you feel more vibrant, youthful, and stylish, allowing you to embrace your natural beauty. Have you ever tried pairing earthy tones with white pants? How did it make you feel? Share your thoughts in the comments. Chapter 3: Using Accessories and Outerwear. Layering with lightweight outerwear is a fantastic way to elevate your outfit without feeling overheated. A blazer or cardigan can add depth and sophistication to your look while keeping you comfortable throughout the day. These lightweight layers not only offer a bit of warmth but also enhance your style, giving you a polished and refined appearance. Light outerwear is also the perfect option when you want to add a layer of interest to your outfit without bulk. When paired with white pants or other basic pieces, a jacket can make you look effortlessly chic and modern. It's an ideal choice for occasions where you want to look polished but still feel at ease. A light camel jacket paired with wide-leg white pants is a perfect example of this. The jacket highlights the natural elegance of the outfit, offering a relaxed yet stylish vibe that's both comfortable and classy. Have you ever tried pairing a lightweight jacket with white pants? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Next, let's dive into how to select shoes and accessories to complete this look, ensuring you achieve a refined yet comfortable appearance. Chapter 4. Pairing shoes and accessories. Choosing the right shoes to pair with white pants is crucial in completing your look. Nude shoes, ivory loafers, or metallic flats are perfect choices that not only make you look taller, but also keep you comfortable. These shoes blend seamlessly with your outfit, maintaining an elegant and light appearance. Nude or ivory shoes complement your skin tone, making your legs appear longer and slimmer, while metallic flats add a touch of shine without overpowering the overall look. Accessories also play a key role in highlighting your outfit. A woven straw bag adds a fresh, light vibe, especially in the warmer months. A statement bracelet can add a pop of personality, while a wide-brimmed hat not only protects you from the sun but also elevates your look. These accessories don't just complete the outfit but also showcase your personal style, making your ensemble feel more polished. The combination of white pants, nude shoes, and a straw bag is an excellent way to feel confident and stylish. This mix of comfort and elegance makes for a chic, effortless look that's perfect for any occasion. What accessories do you often use to elevate your outfits? Try adding shoes and accessories to create a stylish and comfortable look. Next, let's dive into how to finish off your outfit with other details, from lightweight jackets to small elements that make a big difference. Chapter 5. Comfort and Style. Mastering white pants. White pants aren't just a summer staple, they're a symbol of confidence and self-expression. For women over 60, white pants can help you shine and exude elegance without worrying about your age. While many women feel hesitant to wear white pants, fearing they might highlight imperfections, the truth is white pants can make you look slimmer and more confident. They're an essential piece in any wardrobe, offering a fresh, effortless look that enhances your natural beauty and gives you a sense of comfort. When you wear an outfit that makes you feel confident, you'll always shine. White pants, when paired correctly, create a chic, modern look that's both flattering and sophisticated. The key is feeling confident in your choice of clothing. White pants not only highlight your style, but also reflect your personal flair. White pants are more than just a fashion item. They're a way to assert your style and confidence. They help you feel comfortable, elegant, and most importantly, more confident in expressing yourself through fashion. White pants aren't just a summer wardrobe staple, they represent confidence and self-expression. No matter your age, always choose a style that reflects your self-love and confidence. If this video inspired you, share how you like to style your white pants in the comments below. You have a special way you wear them. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who could use a little confidence boost when wearing white pants. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.